These brown road signs just remind you that you are in the Clwyds area of outstanding natural beauty here in North Wales, and these are the Clwyds in front of me. I think that's Moel, but it's hard to make out, to be honest. But I love this road, very quiet. You get it to yourself and you get to ride in the shadow of the Clwyds. So today I am approaching the New Bwlch, which is a climb from Ruthin that I'll tell you more about from the roadside. So I'm just outside St Peter's Church, Llanbedr Dyffryn Clwyd, Llanbedr DC, and I've filmed from here once before when I did the Old Bwlch, which was my first ever video with this setup. The nice thing about this area is that there's two options. You can go up the Old Bwlch or the New Bwlch. The New Bwlch is much longer, much shallower, and goes the other side of the top of the hill. So it's a bit less elevation as well. My dad's halfway up it. It is not my preferred route, obviously. It's only 7% average, maybe. Longer and a main road, but it's not bad. You can see it's quite busy. It starts immediately on this left turn. I can't be bothered with that. I'm going to turn right, go down a bit, so I hit it with momentum. Not much momentum. So yeah, I'll see you on the climb. So the climb's 3.2 kilometers. It's about 200 meters of elevation, and as you can see, it's a pretty steady gradient. The bits that are properly uphill are like 8 to 10%, and then there's a couple of flatter sections that just bring that average down to 6. I'm not going to talk too much about strategies for tackling this hill because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Find yourself a comfortable gear, spin all the way up it. There's not really much technical about how you would climb it. I would say keep a note on the fact that it's a relatively busy road, but I thought the drivers up here were really quite impeccable. I think the fact that this is Wales, not to make it sound like the absolute arse end of nowhere, but people are used to waiting for tractors, for hay bales, for cyclists. By the way, on the left, that little road just back there was the entrance to the Old Bwlch, and I think I'm due a revisit of that on the video because my first ever video going up there was frankly dire, and it's my favourite climb in North Wales, just because of personal reasons. Now, this climb that I'm cycling was actually featured in the Tour of Britain 2015 in stage 1, and it was the final of 3 KOM options, or 3 KOM points opportunities, so my time up it is absolutely dire. I think I'm not even in the top 100, and I'm sort of okay with that. It's shallow enough that it's quite drafty all the way, and it's quite exposed as you get higher up, so you really are at the mercy of the weather. Today we had kind of a cross headwind. It's not an excuse, it was okay, and I'm very happy with my time up it, as you'll see as we go. But I understand that this is very much dependent on the conditions you ride it in. At the bottom, as you climb out of Llanbedr DC, it's got this lovely double switchback. Can you call it a switchback? Just double hairpin, I guess, but a nice feature that makes it quite interesting, and it's why it's quite a fun one to descend or even to drive. This is a nice road generally, so I do enjoy this. I have to fight the urge to go too deep too early on this first hairpin. There is a fair bit of temptation to dig in quite hard. I think it's the only place that this really gets over 10%. But I know that I burn myself out quickly. I've done that before. So this is one of the first big hills I ever cycled up, and although it's not one I would choose to do regularly now, I've got fond memories of being maybe 16 and my dad driving us out here and us doing it together on a little loop, and I was on like a heavy hybrid bike that my dad had put road bike wheels and tyres on and pushing up, and I had a little strop halfway up. I was saying, Dad, I'm absolutely like at my limit. I can't pedal any faster and I can't pedal any harder, and I'm only going 10 miles an hour. And my dad was like, but that's fine. it's perfectly okay to be doing 10 miles an hour. And I was going, no, it's not. I'm tired and it's hard. I think I must have had like a granny ring. I think I had 3 gears on the front on that hybrid. But I just remember this being the hardest thing. And climbing this hill on that bike on that day was part of me falling in love with cycling. I don't remember the feeling when I got to the top that people sometimes talk about, and I don't really remember much else about it. I do remember getting home and seeing my mates later and just telling them all about it, so excited. And I don't think any of them were particularly interested or bothered, but they were polite enough to humour me. And without going too deep, I sort of think at school and stuff, I spent a lot of time in other people's shadows trying to like the things they liked and do the things they did. And I'd been quite good at playing squash before cycling, and I enjoyed that for a long time. And then I just didn't hit puberty when all my peers did, and suddenly at like 15 I was 4'0" playing against fully grown men, and I was bad at it, and I stopped loving it for quite a while. And then getting into cycling, I suddenly had something else that I loved where that wasn't a limiting feature, and I could be great at something, and I had my own independence. I could go out on my bike as and when I pleased and go places that I wouldn't otherwise have been able to go. So, you know, that was all part of, I guess, me growing up and kind of becoming who I am. I didn't mean it to get that deep, and, you know, my childhood and teenage years were good, they were fine. I didn't mean to make that sound like a sob story. But cycling definitely formed a part of who I became, and this hill in some way definitely helped shape that. So I do think fondly of it in that respect. You can see the landscape behind me kind of opening up now. As we get higher up, you get these more panoramic vistas. And I do think, actually, I filmed me descending this once, and again, that was back in the early days of 2022 when I didn't say anything over my videos, and it was just watch it or don't. There's me having a full strop at my bike, full strop, because I couldn't pick any of the middle 3 gears that I wanted. And again, entirely my own fault. I get a little bit flustered here. You can hear me almost hyperventilating. Legs are quite tired, and I'm not doing massive power, to be honest, and I'm breathing too hard for what I am doing. So fortunately, as I did this, there's a moment at which I took the opportunity to regather myself, settle down, get the breathing under control, and push on. This bit of the climb is not especially picturesque. I'm just riding next to a wall with some woods to the right of me, but at least I kind of knew in my own mind that the end's in sight at this point. If you look on the mini-map, okay, I've probably only done not quite 2/3 of the climb, but it's less steep, the final part. This corner that I'm approaching now is pretty much flat. And I know in recent weeks on the channel I've been talking about my desire to keep power rolling on false flats and how important that's going to be for me if I want to get better generally at attacking hills. I did not do that today. I didn't even come close to doing that, and that's okay, right? I can't be on all the time, and frankly, unapologetically, I wanted to make this climb as short as possible, so I took the inside line on this corner within my lane, and I forced this Audi out over the double white lines, which they're not supposed to do, but it was all okay. I took the shortest corner I could. You get a nice view as you come over here, and I often incorrectly believe that just around this left turn ahead of me is the end, because you do like quite a long sweeping left, so sometimes I will push far too hard. A few years ago, when I was just getting back into cycling seriously, I came out on a club ride with the guys I've talked about a few times, Joey et al, and there was a guy called Jeff. I don't know why he's got the nickname The Dog, but he does. So Jeff, the dog, he used to be a pro cyclist many years ago. I don't know when, I won't guess because I might be offensive, but he's been retired for many years, but he never lost that mentality. And he was tired on this ride, and he was bored of our cafe stop, so he set off early, and he was halfway up this hill, and I managed to chase him down about here. But like I say, Jeff never lost this mentality, and he tried to hold my wheel. But simultaneously, all he cares about is everyone pushing themselves as much as they can. So this, you know, older fella, I'm going to guess early 70s at this point maybe, was on my wheel, but also behind me screaming, go on son, push it. And I pushed it too hard. Anyway, I managed to drop Jeff and then I blew up myself, and I thought that was a great time that I'd set then. It was not a great time. As a spoiler, I was still about 75 kilos with an FTP somewhere around, I don't know, 250, 260 then. So I was probably quite slow up it. But yeah, that, you know, I've done a few different interesting rides up here in my time. It's been a constant stream of cars, hasn't it? And that's why this isn't really a choice road of mine. At no point did I feel at all unsafe. I might have felt a bit mardy about a couple of close passes, but everyone was absolutely fine. But yeah, this is really a backup option if I can't handle the Old Bwlch with its 13% average. This leisure centre, like hotel, whatever it is on the corner, marks the end for me, but it's the back of it that's the end, so I have to keep pushing. And this is where I want a strong finish, hence you can see I'm getting up to 400 watts, and I'm really determined that I'm going to push myself to the finish. You'll notice that I haven't bumped into my dad. I was thinking, fair play, he's absolutely done me here. He's just going to be sitting at the top, having a flapjack and waiting for me. So yeah, this wasn't a stellar effort, but it was my second fastest time up here, and on my winter bike, I'm really happy with that. Hopefully later this season, I'll set a slightly better time and come higher than 84th on the leaderboard, but I'm like 2 minutes behind Giles, that's crazy. That was the new Bwlch. Horrible main road, nice and quiet for a second, but a nice climb. Very hard today. Hard today?
Yeah, but I felt good.
There you go. Oh, I didn't. Woo. There's the top of the climb. This is gonna be a big gym and cafe and all sorts when it gets sorted, which is nice because it's a nice location and it's already built on. Might as well make it useful. Yeah, main road climb goes down there. I've filmed the descent of this a few times on YouTube, but never the climb. It's one of those things that won't come out, but if you see past, you can see into Snowdonia over the top there. Just about. Yeah. As a little post-credits Easter egg, if you like, just down the road from there is a pub that my whole family loves. They serve excellent food, lovely people, lovely location, and my family and I, here it is on the left, the Druids Inn, went through a phase of stopping there on bike rides for lunch. Ludicrously sized lunches. So here's a picture of me at about 19 years old with my mum eating there. How embarrassing. Thanks for watching, guys.